Welcome to Snetterton in Norfolk for round 11 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and we've been treated to some excellent weather to go racing this weekend already, and today is looking like exactly the same thing. In yesterday's round 10 we saw elite domination once again, 1-2 at the end of the race, with Harry Bansell taking victory ahead of his teammate Isaac Phelps, but never far away is championship leader Dan Ginchard, who was over the line in third place. Let's have a look back at those highlights from round 10 of the championship yesterday here at Snetterton.
Round 10 of the GB4 Championship started with drama. Leandro Juncos, unfortunately, a little bit too quick to get off the line, and he would be given a 10-second time penalty. But out front, it was Harry Bansell leading us from pole position. 4 pole sitters in 4 rounds. The 2 elite cars of Bansell and Isaac Phelps got clean starts from the front row, and they would take us through the first few corners. We would see drivers pushing the limits going round this Snetterton 300 circuit. Battles going on down the field there. Stefan Bostandiev just making some positions, but out front, Harry Bansell led us from start to finish to take his second win of the season.
That was the highlights from round number 10 yesterday. Of course, we've got round 11 coming up very shortly, and the weather's looking very similar. Slightly cooler this morning than we had in race conditions yesterday. That might affect how the drivers have to tackle today's racing. Let's have a look back at some of those the drivers that didn't quite make it on the podium yesterday. We caught up with Tom Ingram Hill. He had a very, very good race in that one. He's definitely taken a step forward. Let's hear what he had to say about round 10 yesterday. Tom, a solid result in that race, first race of the weekend. Talk to us about it from your point of view. It looked like quite an entertaining one from your driver's seat.
Yeah, I know. Made a couple of big steps learning-wise, and taking it into this weekend, it's been really good. Top 3 in practice sessions, so taking that away, had good confidence into quali. And then, to be honest, in that race, very confident with the start, signed P8, very confident with it. Got a good start off the line, got a little bit held up, but we managed, conceded to Jack, and then raced very cleanly with Jack, my teammate, and it was really good fun. Then caught back up to Enzo, passed Enzo, and was just a nice little calm race back. But I can't thank Fortec and Dan enough. They made this weekend great so far, and hopefully we can keep on pushing.
It looks like you've really taken a step forward recently. At the start of the year, we know that this is your first full season in single-seater slicks and wings. You're alongside Jack Taylor, his second year. He was really fast. You were lacking a little bit, but I think you're right there with him now. What sort of things have you think you've improved on so far this year?
I think just confidence-wise. I think I didn't have a lot of confidence going into this year after a bad year last year, but Dan picked me up, and he taught me a lot and helped me get my confidence back, and everyone at Vortex built a really good environment, so it's made a massive difference, and having everyone pushing behind your back's helped a lot, and yeah, it's good confidence going into it.
Confidence really important to performance, as you're finding out, of course. Race 2 coming up, what can you do in that one?
I think I just got to keep my head down, do the same again, start in P7, maybe 2 more positions gained, and be happy again, and keep on learning, getting better and better, and eyes forward.
Absolutely, and keeping cool as we are under the tree here. Tom, congratulations on a good result in race 1, and we'll see how you go for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Do you know what's really interesting for me is seeing the drivers in the GB4 Championship develop throughout a season, both on circuit and off circuit. And I think if anyone's been following this season already this year, Tom Ingram Hill feeling much more comfortable both in the car and in front of camera. Very good interview from him there. And it's part of the thing that this championship is here for, is to help these drivers develop into professional drivers of the future. And some of the media stuff that they might not like doing, actually, it's quite important for their future careers. Anyway, that was Tom Ingram Hill. Great to see him continuing to do well and improving, and also looking forward to a good weekend. He's got a good number of people behind him. Dan Wells is helping him, and also Duncan Tappy as well, his driver coach. Clearly whatever they're doing is working. Another driver I caught up with yesterday was Alex O'Grady, currently sitting 5th in the championship, and was ahead of this weekend as well. There was, I mentioned yesterday, talk that he might not even be on the grid at times because he's been struggling to get funding, but he is here this weekend, had a good race yesterday, and I caught up with him after a good result in race number 1 this weekend. Alex, coming off the back of a really strong weekend at Alton Park, I know there was question marks as to whether you would make this part of the season, but another strong result, 5th place on the road in that one as well.
Yeah, we found a lot of pace on Friday. We made a big step forward with our car, and the pace seemed to be a lot better. We were in the top 5 yesterday evening, and then we qualified 6th. So I think the pace was quite good, but we're still lacking a bit compared to the top 5. Definitely felt there at the start we got off to a good start, and I was keeping up, but then I think we were a bit high on the pressure and we dropped off, but I'm still happy to hold on. We were 6th on track, but Junkos jumped the start obviously. So a top 5 is good, it's good points, and yeah, it's nice to see we're still up there.
Yeah, you mentioned the pressure there. You're talking about the tyre pressure, of course, very hot this weekend. Getting the tyres in the right window, very important. Let's look ahead to race 2 now. What are you thinking ahead of that one?
Yeah, well, we used our 2 new tyres there. I'm not sure in front. I'm not sure if they were on new tyres, so we might be at a bit of a disadvantage. But you know, the pace hasn't been too bad. I think as long as I get off the line well, I should be able to hold my position and score some good points again.
Yeah, I mentioned just a moment ago that there was question marks about you being here. No way a reflection on the way you've driven this year. Of course, I know that you're working hard to get the funding to be on the grid this year. You know, what's been going on behind the scenes? You've probably been working hard. Is there anyone that you need to say thanks to?
Yeah, we've managed to sign a lot of sponsors for this weekend, so big thanks to them. And yeah, a lot of people behind the scenes doing a lot of hard work to get me here. Our sponsorship manager Nicola done a very good job. So yeah, big thanks to everyone, and I'm glad to be here, and hopefully we'll be here for the whole season. Great to have you back on the grid. Congratulations. I suppose, what about that reverse grid? What are you thinking ahead of that one? Yeah, I mean, I think the racecraft is all right. I think we tend to go forward quite a bit, and yeah, there's going to be store people in front of us, so I think it's all to play for, and hopefully I can move forward a bit and score some good points. Alex, thanks very much. Congratulations on another solid result. See how you get on the rest of the weekend. Thank you. Good result for Alex O'Grady yesterday, and he continues his good run of form. And I've got team manager for KMR Sport, Kevin Mills. Kevin, great to see Alex back on the grid, because I know he was working really hard behind the scenes. There was doubts whether he would actually make it this far in the season, but he's proving he can do it on circuit, but also great to have him back in the championship.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's got a few sponsors on board this week again, you know, picked up some new people. We just need all his countrymen really to get behind him, because he's clearly got the talent. You know, no pre-season testing, turned up really just last minute and did some early testing like at the first round, and he's just getting better and better all the time. Yesterday P6 on the grid, he was P13 on his first session on Thursday, and you can see his progression through the weekend. So if we could just pick up a little bit more money and keep on running, do a little bit more testing, I think he'll be able to run right at the front all the time. I
mean, you're the highest placed car that isn't yellow or Dan Ginchard at the moment, which is, you know, that's pretty good to going, because they're very much in the swing of things. You as a team working well, getting used to this new car. It's been a bit of a challenge this year to get on top of things.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very different car to last year for us, and we didn't run it as a GB3, which probably held us back a little bit, you know, in early season testing, but I think we've got our head around it now. You know, we seem to be able to put a car out there that the tyres last through the race, and we can get a sort of a one-lap pace out of it. Yeah, just been learning. You know, it's been a steep learning curve, but we're in there, and you know, we're used to 3 teams championships in a row. You know, we're not used to not being at the front.
Well, you are at the front. Maybe not quite the heights that you're used to, but I'm sure it'll only be a matter of time. Kevin, I'll let you go and prepare with the rest of the team. Kevin Mills, great to catch up with him there, team manager and owner of KMR Sport. Of course, he's not the only driver. There's 3 drivers in the KMR Sport roster, and one of those drivers actually is Megan Bruce, who's returning for another season. We've seen her in the last couple of years. There's a lot of new drivers on the grid this year, helping us get to 24 cars this weekend, but Megan's one of the drivers returning, having another year. And if anyone was watching closely at Alton Park, she had a very good weekend, one of her strongest of the year and her GB4 campaign, partially helped by amazing driving, especially on lap 1 in race number 1 of the weekend, which was changeable conditions. And there's a video that's surfaced on social media, an onboard video of that lap, and it's gone pretty viral. It's over 100,000 views, you know, thousands of likes. And I thought I'd sit down with Megan and talk to her about that. Megan, Alton Park was a crazy weekend, wasn't it? Yeah. What with the weather and everything. Talk to us about it from your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend overall. I struggled a bit in testing in the dry. So when I saw the rain coming, I was quite excited.
I bet.
Yeah, it was crazy. Tyre choices in race 1 and 3 was crazy for everyone, I guess. Yeah, it was good though.
It's a bit of a roll of the dice, but ultimately you and KMR Sport team made some good decisions. It was, I would say, probably your strongest weekend of this year, but also of your GB4 career so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think we were in the assembly area. I think we kind of knew straight away it was going to be wets. My teammate, even in the top 10, he was on wets as well. So when I saw the people on slicks warming up on the opening lap, I was like, yeah, we made the right call here.
Definitely. And you started somewhere near the back in that first race.
Yeah.
You had the wet tyres on, you'd chosen well. There were other drivers on wet tyres as well.
Yeah.
But you or the team or a combination of the two released an onboard video which has been doing very, very well on social media, and I actually have it here.
Yeah.
Over 130,000 views, lots of likes. It's got a lot of love on social media. I'm hoping, if it's all right with you, you might be able to talk us through it from your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just talk us through what you're thinking as it's happening and what sort of things you're looking at.
Cool. We had a decent start, to be fair. Bit of wheel spin, but that's obvious. And then we go into turn 1, brake a bit early, but then kind of make it back, just release the brakes and just stay on the inside because the slicks could be running off anywhere, so try to play it safe. Yeah, and then down into turn 2, everyone just chose the inside, which honestly I don't really know why, so I was like, I'll just go around the outside. There was wets runners in there and slick runners, so that was quite nice. That was quite a lot of positions there. And then, yeah, there's a slick tyre in front of me here, so that was quite easy as well. You have to be careful, obviously, you don't know where they're going to end up. So they're obviously struggling loads, so give them a bit of room. And then we go into the hairpin, and then the car in front just goes up, and I just try to keep it tight, get the best straight exit out. And then we have here into the chicane. I was focused on the exit again. We made quite a lot of time up in the braking, so that was quite good. Just straight to the exit and managed to get past the Arden car there. Had a bit of wheel spin on the curb, but it's fine. And then in front of me I could see that the pace car was also on wet, so I just tried to brake in the same bit as him because I knew that he'd get past the slicks. Free wide here, I was scared that I was going to be hit there. And then we go past the Elite here as well, again just hoping that he didn't understeer into me, but that was fine. And then we go up the hill. At this point I'm quite happy. So we just keep making progress here. Made up a lot of time in Druids as well on the brakes. Obviously it was a bit cautious, but everyone is, I guess, a bit on lap 1. And then the Elite car also on slicks. Just kind of knew that he'd struggle on the brakes, so again just followed the pace car in front into the braking, and then got an alright exit. It was a bit messy, but we still got the next car into the next corner, so yeah, it was pretty good. And
pretty good. I mean, how many? Just remind us how many places there was gained in that first lap. It's a good 15.
P19 to P4, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good 15 places in one lap.
Yeah.
And Alton Park, one of the shorter circuits on the calendar. You've done a fair amount of racing in Caterhams, which is, of course, they move around a lot.
Yeah.
Car control is clearly one of your strengths, which allowed you to do that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think I just had probably a lot more confidence in the wet as well with it moving around. So yeah, I was quite excited when it was raining. I knew I had confidence in myself that, yeah, I can make up a lot of positions here. Yeah, we did just that.
Megan, if you do 15 positions again, then maybe another viral video coming up.
Maybe.
Thanks so much for chatting to us, and we'll see how you get on.
Thank you.
So that was, of course, from last time out at Alton Park. We were talking about Megan Bruce's amazing drive from the back to the front in that wet weather race. Same as yesterday, very, very little chance. I'd say pretty much zero chance we're going to see the wet tyres out in action today. And talking of tyres, slightly different tyre strategies. Our pole sitter, in fact, our front 3 is exactly the same as yesterday. Ari Bansal got that double. We heard from him after that pole position yesterday. So if you want to see his interview, you can go back and watch the live broadcast on the MSV-TV YouTube channel. But new left-hand side tyres for both Ari Bansal and his team, who came second yesterday, Isaac Phelps. These two are going to be pushing each other hard. On his team. Brand new left-hand side tyres will give the drivers a bit more grip in that first stage of the race, especially because a new Pirelli tyre always has more grip. A reminder, this second race of the weekend, round 11, set by the second fastest lap times of each driver from qualifying, which actually has given us a slightly different grid in this one. Top 3 are the same. If we just pan around to the number 32, Luke Hilton, he is now starting in 4th place, so a good opportunity for him to get a podium. Fully qualified race. Then 2 was uncharacteristically a bit further down outside of the top 5 yesterday. He's in the number 51, the 3rd of the Elite Motorsport cars. He's going from 5th place, looking forward to having a good race. He's also got those brand new left-hand side tyres, as does Luke Hilton. And then in 5th place, in 6th place, we have Alex O'Grady, who we heard from just a few moments ago. Looking forward to a good race in this one. We saw the drivers pushing each other very, very hard in that race yesterday. Before we Well, we're racing here at Snetterton 300 this weekend. We ran yesterday. If you didn't watch yesterday, Chris McCarthy is going to talk to you about all of the details of the Snetterton 300 circuit, where the lap time can be found, and then we'll also hear from our pole sitter, or ride on board, sorry, with our pole sitter, Ari Bansal, here at Snetterton.
It's a quick run through the right-hander to kick us off here at Riches, and then into the first big overtaking zone down at Wilson. There's a lot of places to overtake around here at the Snetterton 300. One of them straight at Agostini. The run through Oggies and Williams, crucial to get you a good run down the Bentley Straight, where we're going to see lots of slipstreaming to set up an overtake down at Nelson. Bumhole, one of the trickiest corners on the circuit, but it leads into the long right-hander at Coram, and then into the tight left at Murray's, and down the centre straight, where we could see the winner decided in a slipstream battle. This, the Snetterton 300 circuit, where we first began racing in GB4 back in 2022. Now 75 races in. How will the racing be different in these brand new cars? That is a look at the Snetterton 300 circuit.
Let's ride on board pole sitter Ari Bansal for Elite Motorsport here at the Snetterton 300 circuit. A long run down towards Turn 1 and Riches, an overtaking opportunity just to breathe on the throttle through there. Very committed car moving around underneath him. Turn number 2, a big braking zone down towards here. This will be the main overtaking opportunity during the race. A late apex through there and using all of the road on the exit. Watch out for track limits on the exit as well. Turn number 3, slightly banked on the way in, and then the car goes light on the exit. Once again, track limits comes up quickly, so be mindful of that. Watch out for that in qualifying and the races. Agostini next, turn number 4, another braking zone with a late apex. He'll miss the first part of the corner, come back for the second apex, and then once again all the curb, but no more on the exit. Hamilton, just a breathe on the throttle, very committed through here, right up against the tyre stack at the apex. Oggies next, an awkward bump under braking with a double apex corner come to the right. First apex hit, second apex not. Now we head onto the back straight, a corner that feels like it goes on forever. Squeeze the throttle to get a good exit down the back straight. You'll see drivers weaving left and right during the race to keep the slipstream. An overtaking opportunity into Brundle and Nelson can be done on the inside and the outside here. Brake as the shadow goes over the car. Keep it left through the left-hander to open up the right-hander. Very tricky and easy to run wide on the exit. Next up, the bum hole. Undulation through here, drops down at the apex, car bottoms out, easily flat in these GB4 cars. Coram, another corner that feels like it goes on forever, absolutely kills the left-hand side tyres. Then we brake and turn at the same time, the car squirming underneath him for the last corner of the circuit. That is a lap of the Snetterton 300 circuit in the new for 2025 GB4 car with our pole sitter, Ari Bansal. A really unique challenge for the drivers is Snetterton circuit. It's not a huge amount of undulation change in the typical sense, but fairly regular, subtle camber changes throughout the corners. A lot of long corners, fairly narrow, very little runoff on all the corners, and a lot of places around the circuit where the track limits come up very quickly. And we saw some warnings for track limits yesterday. I don't know if we got any penalties. I don't think we did, but if you do that too many times, running wheels over the curbs, the drivers can be looking at 5-second penalties. A quick chat on the championship, actually. Daniel Ginchard, who came third place yesterday, he led into the weekend, had a bit of a buffer. Still does have a buffer, nearly a race win, 31-point advantage, and it's 35 points for a race win in these races. But then we've got the trio of elite motorsport cars coming into this weekend. Alex Catoulis in the number 51. He was the driver leading the way out of those 3 elite motorsport cars, but he's actually dropped down behind both of his teammates. Very, very close between those 3. 181 points. It's now Ari second in the championship, Isaac Phelps on 176, and then Alex Catoulis 169, and then we've already spoken about Alex O'Grady, sits 5th in the championship for KMR Sport. I've already spoken about the tyres. It's going to be a hot day of race. Very much the drivers are going to have to look after the tyres, make sure that they can last the duration. We've got this morning racing in the 18-minute grid race that we're coming up round number 11. We've got round number 12 coming up this afternoon. The green flag will be about 4:20 for that one. And the drivers only have 6 tyres, so a full set and 2 additional tyres for the whole race weekend, which includes qualifying and the 4 races. So some drivers choosing to take those left-hand side tyres yesterday. I think the likes of Dan Ginchard and Leandro Juncos took those yesterday. But the elite drivers and Luke Hilton starting in 4th place, choosing those left-hand side new tyres in this race this morning. Temperatures aren't quite as high as they were for that race yesterday, so potentially that will be allow the drivers just to keep them in a more functional window for a bit longer. And I'm hoping to go only a few minutes away now from round number 11. Other drivers to watch out for, we've already spoken about Tom Ingram Hill there in the number 8 Fortec Motorsport car. He's definitely having a good weekend so far. We saw him go side by side with his teammate, the number 50 Fortec car of Jack Taylor yesterday. Unfortunately, Jack Taylor, much further down the grid. He didn't get a very representative second fastest lap time, so he'll be starting all the way down in the 19th place, not as high as we usually see Jack. He's been very, very fast at times this weekend. We're going to also keep an eye on the number 27 here of Leon Wilson for Arden Motorsport. He's definitely a racer. We know that he can make moves. We've seen good results last this season. Keep an eye out for him. Always gets involved. He was close with other drivers this week, yesterday's race as well. We're hearing 5 minutes away from the start of this race now. Arden Motorsport, good to see them having a full roster of cars this weekend. They've got the 55 of Ava Dobson and also that new driver that we spoke to yesterday, Dudley Ruddock. They are a full grid. We've often only seen one car in Arden, so good to see an extended grid. 24 cars this weekend here at Snetterton 300 for the GB4 Championship, and I think we're only a few minutes away from the race now. You can hear the engines rising, you can see the mechanics getting ready, the drivers. This is the final high fives, final encouragement for the team. At this stage, the drivers are just thinking about the race start. They're just trying to think about all the procedures they need to go through. So getting the tyres warm on that formation lap, getting their tyres warm on the formation lap, the engine in the right temperature window, and also then nailing that start. As the engines rise, I think it's time we go racing for round 11 of the GB4 Championship in 2025.
We first went racing in the GB4 Championship here at Snetterton back in 2022. Today we celebrate 75 races of this championship, and we will do so where it first began 3 years ago on the Snetterton 300 circuit. Not much has changed in terms of the layout. The challenge remains exactly the same, as does the opportunity for overtaking and for race wins. Who will add themselves to the history books? Will we see the championship lead for Dan Ginchard close down a little bit more, just like it did yesterday? Ari Bansal unbeatable around this Snetterton 300 circuit to go and claim his second win in the championship. It was an elite 1-2. Will we see the same dominance today? It's been a fantastic championship so far. Today we celebrate 75 races in GB4, a championship that has put drivers on the road to F1, the road to Le Mans, the road to IndyCar, and we've even got drivers racing in the British GT, the British Touring Car Championship, and the GT World Challenge as well. Where will the next crop of drivers go? These are the stars of the future you watch in front of you, and the star of yesterday, Ari Bansal, our round 10 winner. This now round 11 of 21, so we are very much at the halfway point. He took his second win of the season, did Ari Bansal, joining the likes of Dan Ginchard and Isaac Phelps on 2 wins. So far, the pole positions have just been shared by 4 drivers. These grids are set off the second fastest lap times which they did yesterday. Just one qualifying session. The third race later is where we will reverse the top 12. Alongside him, to the right-hand side of your picture, the driver that ran Ari Bansal the closest. Ari now sitting second in the championship. Isaac Phelps, who is now third in the championship. 4 podiums for him. Will he be able to get ahead of his teammate? No doubt there would have been some talks overnight to see if Isaac can get a little bit closer. Dan Ginchard, 4 podiums for him now. It was very much a championship leader's drive, and he admitted to us after the race that he actually dropped back from the elite cars to save his tyres. And then Luke Hilton got a personal best result yesterday. So huge confidence for Luke Hilton. Can he now build off that, the Douglas driver, and go and get a first podium? 24 drivers out there, 2 of them with us for the very first time. They've had a race to get themselves underway. A welcome to you. Let's go through your grid info. Ari Bansal starting on pole position for the second time this season. Isaac Phelps making it an elite 1-2 at the front of the field. Dan Ginchard, our championship leader, on row 2. And then we have a personal best result for Luke Hilton in qualifying and in race result yesterday. Alex Catoulas needs to make up ground. He's dropped to 4th in the championship, but starting higher today, Alex O'Grady is alongside him. A personal best result in qualifying for Thomas Ingram Hill. He is alongside Liam Wilson, who's been in the top 10 in every qualifying. Enzo Howman is next along, and then we have Leandro Juncos, 2nd row yesterday, 5th row today, and he got a 10-second penalty yesterday for a jump start. And then it's Alex Berg and Dayton Coulthard, who was on the podium last time out at Alton Park. Jason Pribble and Joshua McLean are next on row 7, and then on row 8, Callum Baxter, who flew through to a podium at Alton Park. Stefan Bostandiev is alongside him. Ava Dobson, the American, we've seen her racing in F1 Academy this season alongside Megan Bruce, fighting for a $50,000 prize that could get them in the F1 Academy like Alicia Parmovsky. Then we had Jack Taylor and Flame Auricula here for the first time. Dudley Ruddock and Lily Mae Watkins are next. And then rounding out the field is Holly Mile and Caitlin McDaniel. And that is your field as they make their way round. It is 75 races of the GB4 Championship. We've celebrated so many success stories, and I'm sure we'll celebrate many more. One driver who's been here to witness all of them is the man who's ran across from the Parc Fermé area to get alongside me. Piers Prior, you've been down there with the drivers. What's the atmosphere been like down there with the drivers as we've been building up to this?
It's hot. It's hot already. We're only, just after 10 a.m. in the morning, and I think temperatures are already in the mid-20s. Circuit temperature will be rising with every minute. You can see a lot of fans here today, partly here to see the GB4, but also we've got other races, including British GT this weekend. It's going to be a great weekend of racing to be watching live at Snetterton. And anyone joining and tuning in via the YouTube live broadcast, thank you very much. If you fancy it, give us a like. It always helps things, spreads the word of GB4 and this great racing to more people. And you can see the drivers, despite the hot temperature, still getting that all-important temperature into those tyres.
And Ari Bansal yesterday, controlled race. He now leads more laps than anyone in this championship. Very much controlling things from the front. Isaac Phelps ran him as close as he could. Dan Ginchard, in the end, conceded defeat. What does Dan Ginchard have to do to try and get ahead of the elite drivers, or will we see the championship leader just go for a point here? What do you think is going to be the tactics out front?
We spoke to Dan Ginchard after the race yesterday, and he said he just didn't quite have the pace of the 2 elites at the front of the field. Ari Bansal on the left of shot in the 46, and the 35 on the right of shot is Isaac Phelps. Couldn't quite keep with them, was a second or so back by the end of the race, or a couple of seconds back, but 1.7 back off the leader was he. But he did say, he said, when I realised I couldn't catch them, I didn't damage the tyres. So potentially might be in a slightly better situation today for race 3 at least. But this race, the elite drivers have brand new tyres on the left-hand side. Ginchard does not.
Yep, so this is round 11. It's going to be an 18-minute race. Points go to your top 20. A chance for the top 2 on the grid to close the gap to third place, who leads the championship. We are all set for 18 minutes of racing. This is our second race of the weekend and the 75th time we will go racing in GB4. To the left of screen, your pole sitter, Ari Bansal. To the right of screen is Isaac Phelps. And we are go for the second time this weekend at Snetterton in GB4. It looked like an even start off the front there, but a great start from our championship leader, Dan Ginchard, who goes straight into second place there. So the yellow elite car of Ari Bansal is going to take us through the first corner in the lead, but it's Ginchard who's gone through the second, and we've got it off in the background, Piers.
I think that's Dudley Ruddock in the Arden car, and also a lock-up, big front left lock-up, and a spin also for Jack Taylor. Disaster as more drama in the first two corners than we saw yesterday. Now Luke Hilton's passed on Isaac Phelps as well.
Yeah, so Isaac Phelps, the second of the yellow elite cars, has had a poor start there. Looked like some wheel spin off the line, and he has dropped down to P4. So Ginchard through into second place, Hilton through, and Catoulis in the 51. Yellow elite car is challenging his teammate, trying to go through as well. We're just seeing drivers trying to warm up tyres straight away here, using the straights to try and get some heat through into those tyres, and Catoulis trying to get some places early on.
Yeah, also a move there. I think it's Stefan Bostangiev going side by... No, sorry, that's my mistake. That is Hunkos. He's going side by side in the mid-pack with the 27 of Leon Wilson. Wilson coming out ahead in that battle, but we're going down the Bentley Straight. This is a part of the circuit where the toe is big, and you can see Dayton Coulthard there, right under the rear wing of Alex Berg, pulls to the left-hand side. Can he get alongside? He's alongside going down there as we see the front shot. Leon Wilson still defending. Coulthard side by side through there, and also, touch, wheel to wheel, Tom Ingram Hill. I think that was with one of the Douglas cars. Was that Hilton?
Yeah, Thomas Ingram Hill receiving a little bit of contact there, running wide. That's a real shame. Thomas Ingram Hill, who had got a personal best in qualifying, now finding himself with a bit of contact as they come through Coram for the first time. It's been a great start from Bansal out front. He leads the way here. He's got a good gap out front as he makes his way over the line. We'll try and pick out exactly what's happened in terms of the incidents. Let's have a look at this for Ingram Hill.
Oh, so it wasn't, it was actually Alex O'Grady that he made side-to-side contact with. Oh, and the front wing just taking the Pirelli sticker off the front wing end plate of Alex O'Grady's car. So no lasting damage, but you can see how aggressive the curbs are on the underneath of these cars. And Ingram Hill dropping down the order. O'Grady now up into 6th place on the road. So a disappointment for Tom Ingram Hill there. He finds himself now just outside the top 10. No, actually 9th place after that lap.
Yeah, well, they'll both argue their case on that one. A bit of understeer for O'Grady going into the corner. Ingram Hill was on the outside. I think they'll both be some finger pointing when it comes to that one. But first lap stuff, and O'Grady got his elbows out to make that move stick. Saw the gap on the inside and went for it as they make their way through on this second lap. Gap to the left of screen, you can see, is 0.6 of a second between Bansal and Ginchard. If anything, it's Ginchard who needs to be looking in the mirrors, and this is a superb drive from Hilton, who was 13th in the championship coming into this round, Piers, not driving like someone who we haven't seen on the podium so far this season. He looks very comfortable within the top 3.
Yeah, Luke Hilton's actually had very, very good pace a number of times this year. Unfortunately, Stefan Bostangiev is in the pits for pace performance, so his race in terms of a result is pretty much over. But yes, Luke Hilton is a very good pace, but hasn't been able to execute when he wanted sometimes in qualifying and the races. But this weekend, as we see him slide through Coram, he's had a much better run of it. 2 good laps in qualifying sees him up the front of the field, and he has those 2 new left-hand side tyres in this race, although coming under pressure in the second half of this lap from the 2 elite drivers of Phelps and Catoulis right behind him there. Phelps in the 35, Catoulis in the 51.
If you're watching for the first time, welcome to you. This is entry-level GB4 Championship. A lot of these drivers fresh out of karting, so no use of DRS in this championship, and this is a brand new car for all the drivers to get used to this year, and the teams as well, and it's proved a huge success. We may even break lap records for GB4 today, so that's something we will monitor throughout the race, and all the drivers have proven to get used to it very quickly. Right, let's take a look back at the start. We'll watch for the incident in the background, Piers.
It was an absolute rocket. It was an absolute rocket ship start from Dan Ginchard. Got away from the line really well, hooked it up. That got him past Isaac Phelps, and that's what started Phelps' rearward momentum, as we see in the background. We'll keep an eye and see what happened further back between.
There we go.
Yeah, that is Dudley Ruddock, and unfortunately, that's the Fox Motorsport car they're running wide in avoidance, and then down towards the hairpin. That's really unfortunate. I think that's just a case of 3 into 1 didn't go. That was the second or the third of the pace performance cars, potentially Flame Auricola. And unfortunately, the driver that came out worse there was Jack Taylor. So Taylor will be disappointed. He had good pace yesterday, couldn't exactly execute the race he wanted. But then today, poor qualifying and a spin means he's now further down the order, sitting in 18th currently.
Yeah, Dobson might have been caught up in all of that as well. He's dropped right to the back of the field. Always had some problems a little bit further on into this race. Right, Hilton is under pressure, meaning Ginchard has escaped in second place. So Phelps now piling the pressure on the driver in third place. A cracking start to this race for Hilton, but very much looking in the mirrors now as we come into the final corner. It's an elite attack for Hilton.
Yeah, we saw him have a slide, Hilton, on the previous lap through Corham, and then that lap he was just a little bit off the standard racing line going through into the final phase of that corner where you start applying the brakes for Murray's, the left-hander, the 90-degree left-hander that's so awkward. It drops away and it always feels like you underspeed it, but he got through safely this time, but very much the driver under pressure at the moment. Are we going to see a lunge from Phelps down into the hairpin? Not this time, but look, so close. Only a foot or so between the drivers, and Phelps just continually applying the pressure. Catoulas will be happy to be up with one of his teammates, although Phelps has dropped backwards, of course, starting second on the grid in this one. As you see him run wide, Phelps ran wide out of turn 3. Now Phelps having to defend from his teammate of Catoulas. Catoulas, a reminder, with the purple wings and the 51. Phelps with the white flashes and the 35.
Yep, Isaac Phelps there now defending from Catoulas, and then in the background that is O'Grady, who we saw have that little bit of contact earlier, and then Wilson next along, who's having a much better run of things this time. So this our battle for third place, and you can just see the gap now to Ginchard, which is really extended. Right, this in pit lane is Holly Mile. That's a real shame. So Holly Mile has had a bit of problem somewhere, but all of this, it will be interesting to see how this changes the battle for the lead, as that's going to be Wilson and O'Grady side by side. Wilson trying to move into P6, didn't quite make it stick that time, but very quickly, before we have another change, Piers, be interesting to see what Ginchard can now do now he's been released of any pressure.
Yeah, and it's actually, I've been impressed by Ginchard's pace in this one, actually only a second off the back of Ari Bansal. Reminder that those 6 tyres for each of these cars used throughout the race weekend, and that's those new tyres on Bansal's car but not on Ginchard. So in theory, Bansal should have a slight pace advantage in this race over Ginchard. But we're looking at this battle now for third place. It's still Hilton that's under pressure in that final podium place from Phelps, and we saw him drop a wheel on the exit of a wheel off the road and the exit of one of the corners in the final or the mid-sector of that last lap, and that's allowed Phelps to get right on the back. Once again, a lock up from Hilton. That's going to allow Phelps to get all the way alongside. Side by side we go into turn 3.
Yeah, it's going to be to the right of screen, Hilton. To the left is Isaac Phelps. Are we going to see the up and under here from Phelps? Not quite, but Hilton is really starting to struggle with this pressure, and the train is getting bigger behind, isn't it? It's a queue starting to form here. Juncos has joined Ingram Hill, who we did see drop back after his contact with O'Grady, has now rejoined this battle. So it goes all the way back to 9th place, and Ingram Hill is actually the fastest driver on the circuit.
Yeah, 48.7 on that last lap, plays a 48.8 from Bansal, our leader, although Bansal has gone purple in the first sector, so we're looking at a fast lap time from him. He was a tenth or so, a couple of tenths quicker than our second place driver, so that's that pace from the new tyres now starting to bed in. Seeing the number 51 down the back straight, that's Catoulas. He was at one point pressuring the back of his teammate, although a small mistake saw him drop off the back and allowed Phelps to once again attack the back of Hilton. Hilton in that 32, the blue car in the front of shot. Phelps behind him, then Catoulas, then O'Grady, Wilson, Juncos and Ingram Hill. That's the battle that we're looking at, and probably where we're going to see the most moves in this race at the front end of the field.
Round Corham then, and Hilton. Do you think this may be a slight sign of nerves, or is it a different tyre choice? He hasn't been on the podium yet this season. Is that coming into play, do you think, here? Just getting that, you know, as a driver, Piers, getting that first podium over the line. Just once you've got that, it just releases a weight off your shoulders. Do you think we're seeing a case of that here? And he's dealing with pressure in a race winner, a championship challenger in Isaac Phelps. So doing a fantastic job here.
No doubt doing a fantastic job. As you can see, Bansal set the fast lap of the race of 48.5.
Wow.
So motoring on at the front of the field, he's got a gap of nearly a second or just over a second and a half now to our driver in second place. But you're right, Chris, a driver when they get their first podium, it just releases a weight off your shoulders, almost sort of validates the work that you've been doing and the effort you've been putting in, and gives you the confidence to know that yes, you can do it. You don't need to do anything drastic. You don't need to change a huge amount of what you're doing. You just need to keep plugging away. As we see, that is the battle down between Dayton Coulthard in the 28 and the 98 of Alex Berg.
It is indeed, and this is just one of many great races developing in this championship. 75 of them now there has been in GB4, and Piers, you've been here for pretty much all of them, and I think some of the best of them have been this season, to be fair.
No doubt. We've had some great racing this year, but of course this championship did start in 2022. I wasn't there for the very first event, but I've been at every event since. This is now Wilson and Hunkos fighting side by side through Brundle and Nelson. Leon Wilson in the 27, largely red car there, just about holding off Hunkos. Although there's contact.
Spin for Wilson there, contact with Hunkos. Hunkos' left front suspension has completely folded in on him, so that's going to be a very slow trip back to pit lane if he can even make it there. But well, there was a complete miscommunication on the exit of Nelson, and that is a real shame for two drivers who are fighting for points. It goes from bad to worse for Hunkos this weekend. A 10-second time penalty for a jump start yesterday, and unfortunately both of them getting their elbows out too much.
So Hunkos got a good exit out of Nelson side by side, and unfortunately, yeah, you're right, Chris, it was just a miscommunication. It looked like Hunkos had got a slight overlap and was looking to just keep his nose up the inside towards the bomb hole, and then Wilson was just coming across, and just a case of I think both drivers probably could have given a bit more space there, and unfortunately front wheel to rear wheel contact, generally the rear wheel wins, so Hunkos out of the race.
That's a real shame. Wilson's going to drop down. He was on for a good result, 8th in the championship. Leon Wilson yet to get on the podium this season, but he was staring at a possibility of fighting for one there, and that's a real shame. Ginchard, fastest lap here, as you point out on the screen, and to the top left we can see the gap has come down, and here we go on screen, right on cue. We have picked up those pictures. This becomes, I think, the story of the last 5 minutes now. There is a battle for the race lead. Ari Bansal once had 1.5 seconds of a gap. I think Ginchard's been playing the waiting game here, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know where this pace for Ginchard has come from, because it looked as, for all to see, as if Bansal had this race absolutely sewn up. And Bansal hasn't made any major mistakes either this lap or the last lap. His last lap of 48.5 was still faster than every other driver on the grid, apart from Ginchard. Ginchard really finding something in the middle sector especially, found 2/10 on this lap alone, went purple, and that's why this gap has visually closed for that lead race. I spoke off camera to Richard Ollerenshaw ahead of this race, and he said he's hoping to be on the podium but not third place again. He wants to be at least one of the elite cars, and if things stay as they are, he'll be happy. But I know Ginchard, and Ginchard, if there's a sniff at the win, he will absolutely take it. And a reminder, Ginchard on the used tyres, he took his 2 additional new tyres yesterday. Bansal has those new left-hand side tyres on in this race, so in theory Bansal should have a slight tyre advantage, but whatever the Hill Speed team and Ginchard have done, it's clearly working overnight, and disappointment for his teammate Hunkos, so it'll be a bittersweet race if things stay as they are for the Hill Speed team.
Yeah, Hunkos out the car, looking on, and I think wondering how that race all fell apart for him. And we look back to this battle for third. Hilton has stabilised the pressure here. It was once I think we could say there was a queue behind him, but he's up the pace, and only Isaac Phelps has been able to go with him. So good driving for Luke Hilton in defence. A little bit further back is battling between McLean and Pribble, but this battle for the lead, you feel Ginchard has just been waiting for this attack. Yesterday we heard that he was just saving tyres. He's an experienced driver in single-seaters, isn't he? He's had some experience, and I think using that to his advantage so far this season.
Yeah, no doubt. Dan Ginchard has done, I think this is his third season at this sort of level of F4 racing. A very, very accomplished driver in karting especially.
Yes.
But also had some good race results in the likes of British F4. And, you know, he's using that experience to his advantage in this one. And ultimately, you know, these drivers are all very talented, and the overall ultimate pace doesn't differ a huge amount when you do 3 seasons compared to maybe a good pre-season test and then a season. But it's stuff like time management over a race weekend, knowing when to attack. And he's raced in raced in British F4 and other things like that. So just being able to build a weekend and build a championship, he's shown that that's a talent he has this year, leading the championship without actually quote-unquote dominating this year. It shows that, Jason Pribble spinning through Coram. Didn't see how that started, but he's off on the inside of Murray's.
Well, he's almost like he meant to do it. He's going to do a full 360 and continue on down the start-finish straights. So good control in the end to get that one back round and get going again. So there we go. But that's a real shame for Pribble. We saw that battle going on between him and Joshua McLean.
Yeah, that was...
I believe it was, yeah. That's a real shame. Or that might have been just behind, actually. But going back to Ginchard, so we've seen him going back to 2022. He's doing a bit of British F4, some Spanish F4 as well. But hasn't quite had the chance to make his real break in terms of going for a championship title. And this really could be his season that kicks off his career for the Polish driver. And Dan Ginchard currently in second place with the fastest lap, but Ari Banzer will want something to say about that. You get 35 points for a win, 29 for second, so we'll be looking to take a further 6 points. Ginchard currently on 212 points, Banzer on 181. 2 minutes to go. Let's look back at this.
Jason Pribble, he started losing that very early in Coram and just lost it on his own ahead of Callum Baxter there in the 45. And once the car started rotating, Pribble did the right thing and just slammed on the brakes just to keep the car going straight, and therefore also not causing the car to career across the circuit and rejoin unsafely on the other side. So a mistake from Pribble there, was pushing hard, maybe slightly offline, hurt his race, but won't or no lasting damage, and will continue on, potentially with a couple of flat spots.
When he gets over it, I think Pribble might enjoy watching that one back a little bit. That was lovely camera work, I have to say. Well caught by the camera crew out there, who we've got to say a big shout out to the crew around the circuit delivering us the pictures, and the marshals, of course, as well, keeping us going racing. Right, back to this battle. Ari Bansal, we're going to be coming on to the last lap. We are, so 1 to go for Bansal. Just has to make no mistakes now. Ginchard, is he going to be able to go for a move? Well, he certainly tried it there into Agostini. Big lock-up, the pressure being mounted on now.
Did you see that flash of the rain light from Bansal to say, don't try that, sunshine? I like that. That's a bit of gamesmanship between the two drivers there. I don't think that was actually an wow, this is getting feisty. That was Bansal, I think, actually probably slowing down more than Dan Ginchard expected. So a genuine bit of gamesmanship going on here between these two. Good to see a bit of competitiveness on circuit, but at the moment, no change at all. But Bansal felt the need to go a little bit defensive into Oggies because of the dive that Ginchard sort of attempted into Agostini.
Yeah, it was defensive driving there, wasn't it, from Bansal. Ginchard tried the move in, but I think that will be that. We haven't seen someone take 2 in a row in terms of wins this season. We're about to see that for the first time. It's going to be a perfect start to the weekend for Ari Bansal, who turns the last corner now down the start-finish straight. It's been 2 pole positions and 2 perfect race wins for Ari Bansal as he comes up to the line to take the checkered flag. It's 2 for 2 for the elite motorsport driver, and that is a perfect start to the weekend and sets up the chance to go for the hat-trick in race 3. We'll have to do some overtaking for the first time this weekend to do so. Dan Ginchard, fastest lap in second place, tried the move on the last lap, couldn't quite make it. Hilton finishing in third place to take his first podium of the season. Congratulations to Luke Hilton, who held off the pressure of Phelps all the way to the checkered flag. Catoulis finishing in 5th place, O'Grady in P6, and then it was Ingram Hill in 7th place. Next along after that we had Howman, Berg and McLean. And that's a spin for Dayton Coulthard, who took one of the braking board, or one of the Pirelli boards with him. So that dropped him down. I think he was just outside the top 10, but he's dropped down to at least. He's going to drop all the way down. He hasn't come across the line yet, so real shame for Dayton in his first season of car racing. Ari Bansal settling in very nicely. That is a third win of the season, and he, coming into this, had led more laps than anyone so far this season, and it's been 2 perfect races around the Snetterton 300 circuit for the elite motorsport driver, who has been quite simply unbeatable. Ginchard ran him all the way to the line and almost ran into the back of him on that last lap, but in the end, Bansal, when required, was able to do just enough in defence to hold off Dan Ginchard, and he'll turn the final corner now and head back in, where he'll be met by Piers Prior to reflect on that. Dan Ginchard is getting used to that podium area now. That's going to be similar to Ari Bansal, 5 podiums for each of them now, matching Catoulis. And a first for Luke Hilton, who came into this weekend 13th in the championship. What a step forward he has made, the Douglas Motorsport driver. And that, a weight off his shoulders, and you feel that he can really step forward from here. The signs of a big championship challenge coming from Ari Bansal here. Climbs out of the car, and whatever happens in race 3, you feel this will be a weekend he'll always remember. Perfect weekend so far at Snetterton 300. 2 poles, 2 wins, and now really has nothing to lose going into the reverse grid race coming up later, where he will be absolutely flying with confidence, and it will be great to see what he can do from there. Dan Ginchard, second place, did try his moves, you have to say, at least did give it a go. And Luke Hilton, I'm sure, will be very happy with that. The 75th race of GB4 won by Ari Bansal. Well done to him. Just reflecting with the team. And let's go and get some immediate reaction down in Parc Fermé, where Piers Prior is down to speak to the drivers.
Down here again, Ari Bansal once again taking victory. That was potentially a bit more stressful from Ari. I'm hoping to grab a word with him and hear it from his own perspective as he's celebrating with the team at the moment. Ari, sorry, can I interrupt? We're going to grab a word for the interview for the TV. Another win, first double win in race 1 and race 2 this year. That was a bit more stressful though, it looked like it.
Yeah, that the one lap I made a few mistakes, and Dan caught me by quite a bit. So yeah, definitely it was closer than yesterday.
Closer than yesterday. It seems like potentially Dan's taken a step forward in terms of pace, because you had the newer tyres, Dan didn't, but he was able to stay with you. Are you confident you can still have a good one in race 3?
Yeah, I think so, because the tyres I was a bit more like half conserving, but also not trying to push as hard as possible without sliding them around, so I can still use them for race 3.
That must be a good feeling with a double win on a race weekend. Anyone that you'd like to thank?
Yeah, my parents, the entire elite team, they've done a very good job with the car and setup, so yeah.
Amazing. Ari Bansal, congratulations, double winner this weekend here at Snetterton, as I'm being attacked by a wasp at the moment. Going to grab a word with our championship leader, Dan Ginchard, who sits in second place in that race. Dan, it will be good to grab a word after what was closer race than I thought, potentially. I mean, the elite cars had the new 2 left-hand side tyres. You didn't have that advantage, but clearly pace has improved since yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. We just let the race come to us a little bit. We knew we were going to struggle a bit on the start with the tyre difference. But then once it all sort of levelled out, we caught right back up to Ari. Had a go on the last lap, didn't quite pay off. But yeah, overall happy, good step from yesterday.
I was going to ask you about that last lap. It looked like it was optimistic, but maybe just hoping Ari would give you a bit of space. Obviously it all came out okay in the end, and then into Oggies as well. Yeah,
I mean, he was putting his rain light on and off, which was sort of a bit annoying really, because you're not really supposed to do that. But no, overall really happy. Had a go. You're always going to have a go as a racing driver, as you know yourself. But no, happy with the result. Nice to have a fastest lap again.
Yeah, and also I spoke to Richard ahead of the race and he said, I want another podium, but I don't want it to be third this time. So chipping away, third in the first race, second in this one. What about the final race today?
That's just going to be keeping our nose clean, seeing what we can do. We had a couple gear shift problems off the start in that one, so maybe we could have challenged Ari into the first corner, so we'll try to iron them out as well.
It's still a good start though, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Until I had to change gear, it was really good.
Amazing. Dan Ginchard, still championship leader, though Ari closing in ever so slightly. And I want to grab a word with Luke Hilton, his first podium in the championship. Luke, this feels like a long time coming. You've had great pace, but finally a podium.
Yeah, like as I said to the commentator who's all around the track, like we've had the pace in pre-season and over every test days. We just haven't been able to shine in like rounds. Like you've seen how the start of the season went off, like 8th and a 9th at Donington, wasn't too good. But I feel like midway through the season we've just progressed, made steady improvements. And yeah, I think all round we've gelled as a team, that's for one. We work really well. And I think we've just made massive improvements with the car, just bringing it along slowly but surely, but we're getting there in the end. And I think it's paid off today, and hopefully we're looking for wins later on in the season.
Yeah, a lot of hard work from yourself and the Douglas Motorsport team. Let's look ahead briefly to race number 3. Going to have a decent starting position for that one. What can you do?
Do you know what? Considering how this track is, I think if you just nail the start, there's an opportunity into both hairpins on the first lap and third corner. Other than that, it's just toe fest from there. Like, you can't really do much. You have to learn from the guys' mistakes in front of you. I made a few myself in that race. Just, yeah, tyre went off. But anyway, yeah, just have to make steady improvements in lap 1 and just settle in for the race from there.
Amazing. You drove very well. Anyone you'd like to thank that helped you get this first podium as well?
Do you know, I'd love to thank all my sponsors, and hopefully they're watching, because hopefully I made them proud. I'd like to say a massive thank you to them, because this weekend wouldn't have happened. I'd like to say thank you to all my family for supporting me, just being there, being a hand on the shoulder sort of thing. And I'd like to say especially a massive thank you to my team for all their hard work and contribution to this weekend. I couldn't have done it without anyone.
Luke Hilton, third place, your first podium of many, I'm sure. Congratulations. We'll let you go and celebrate on the podium ceremony now as I hand up to Chris McCarthy to talk you through that podium ceremony.
Thank you, Piers Prior. Well done, Luke Hilton, and a great interview there. Great to hear someone who's put a lot of hard work in, clearly, and also a nice gesture for him to thank all of his sponsors, the teams around him as well. Always important to get the backing. A lot of these drivers rely off backing from sponsorship, and Luke Hilton, they're good to see that he was able to put in all the hard work he has and has now been rewarded with a first podium. And I'm sure it will be the first of many. That was a superb drive to hold off the amount of pressure. At one point there was about 7 drivers behind, but clearly settled down into the race, steadied the ship, and in the end held off Isaac Phelps, a championship challenger, to go and get third place. Well done. That's going to be one of many, I'm sure. Well done, Luke Hilton. And may climb a couple steps as we go along, I'm sure, if he can keep that up. Dan Ginchard, interesting to hear his thoughts after the race about the rain lights, but very composed. And Ari Bansal, a shake of the hands between the pair. Ari Bansal did play some gamesmanship at the end, but overall it was another perfect drive from him, wasn't it, overall? Well done, Ari Bansal. Unbeatable so far. Will we see a hat-trick? We'll have to do some overtaking for the first time to do so. Luke Hilton getting his trophy straight to the front of the cabinet. That one, Dan Ginchard's wrapping him up. So's this one. Ari Bansal, the first driver to get the double victory this season. And that's a superb job from him. Trophies in the air. Well done to Ari Bansal. And we will now look back at the highlights from round 10. Round 11 highlights. It was another 1-2 on the grid for Ari Bansal and Isaac Phelps, but this time that 1-2 wouldn't last for long. Dan Ginchard would climb straight through into second place after a great start and go straight on the attack for Ari Bansal. A spin a little bit further back for Dudley Ruddock, unfortunately, and then there would be dramas a little bit further back in the field as we got congested going into the first corner. This happened as well. We had Alex O'Grady and Thomas Ingram Hill coming together on the first lap. Thomas Ingram Hill did a good job eventually to recover and get back in the pack. Then Leon Wilson and Leandro Juncos coming together, complete miscommunication between the drivers, and Juncos would be into pit lane with that suspension damage. This was the spin for Jason Pribble coming through Corman, a very challenging corner, very fast corner, and Pribble felt the full force of that there late on in the race as the tyres wore on. Ginchard challenged Bansal on the final lap, couldn't quite get through. Coulthard spun on the final lap as he dropped a rear wheel on the grass. Out front, Bansal held off the late pressure from Ginchard to take 2 wins in 2 races, and that he becomes the first driver to take 2 in 2 in the first 2 races since Linus Gramfors, our champion last year. Well done to Ari Bansal there, winning by just under half a second and becoming the first driver, as I said, to do that since Linus Gramfors, who actually won the 50th race. Ari Bansal wins the 75th race of GB4. Ginchard second on the podium. Luke Hilton third. 3 different teams on the podium, showing you the competitiveness of this championship. Phelps, Catulus, O'Grady, Ingram Hill, Howman, Berg, McLean, the top 10. Then we go to Baxter, just outside the top 10. Then it was Bruce doing a great job there, fighting for that funding for F1 Academy. And then we had Taylor, Pribble, Auricola, Watkins, Ruddock, who recovered well despite the spin. McDaniel, Dobson, Coulthard dropping to 20th with that spin. Bostandiev, Wilson, Juncos, both out after their contact. And then Mile as well, retired into pit lane, was off on that first lap, unfortunately, in avoidance. Okay, we go down to Piers Prior, who is with Richard from Hillspeed. Let's go and catch up with him now.
We're down here grabbing some of the atmosphere after what was a great podium ceremony, and a fairly happy man, although it's going to be a difficult race, we'll touch on that in a moment, is Richard Ollerinshaw, team owner, team manager of Hillspeed. Good to see Dan on the podium, 1 position higher than yesterday. Spoke to you off air before the race and you said if he's higher than 3rd then I might chat to you. Well, 2nd place, you must be pretty satisfied with that.
Oh yeah, 2nd place is always good, 1st place is better, and I made an exception for coming out to do an interview with you, Piers, seeing as it's your birthday today. And
thank you, Rich, you're so kind.
And this year we only really make appearances for 1st place, with Freddie and the rest of the guys racking the race wins up. It's been a fantastic season.
I was about to say, it's been a really good year for Hillspeed this year, both in GB3 and GB4. We'll keep it GB4 centric today. Sure. Of course, Dan Ginchard leading the championship. Consistency has been the key for him. Ari Bansal and the elites are always there or thereabouts, but if you can continue banging in podiums, I'm sure you're going to be in a good position for the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. We always knew that coming to Elite's home circuit was going to be super difficult for us as a team. It's not one that we put a lot of running in during the year. We didn't even visit Snetterton last year, so yeah, we came down. We've worked hard over the last few days. We're slowly getting close to them, but we always knew it was going to be a lot of yellow in front of us.
Yes, but Dan Ginchard, of course, a very accomplished driver. Great to have him in your stable this year. We've spoken a lot about Dan, of course, at the front of the field, but Leandro as well has had a very strong weekend, although the results actually haven't shown the pace that he's really taken forward into this weekend.
Oh, for sure. Leandro's having such a run of bad luck. Unfortunately, the circumstances outside of his control. The car is there, the car's underneath him, where we've got 0 mechanical failures, as we tend to have with Hillspeed, but he seems to be getting legged up with other drivers along the way, and despite his best efforts, it does tend to roll sometimes.
Hey, eventually it will come swinging back, I'm sure, but disappointment. He can go again from in the 3rd race of the weekend. What's your outlook with the drivers? What do you say to them ahead of a reverse grid here, somewhere at Snetterton where it can be quite hard to overtake?
Well, Snetterton's proving a little bit different this year. Everybody's pace is super quick. The GB4 car around here is phenomenal. It really is. The racing's close, as your viewers will have actually seen. It's very, very difficult to overtake. The drivers are halfway through the season. They've got a lot of miles under the belts. You're only really making overtake if you can pressure the guy in front into a mistake. So reverse grid is going to be difficult. I think you're going to see some new faces on the podium, because I think it's going to be hard for the normal front runners to pick the way through. So it's going to be an interesting race.
Well, we'll see if your crystal ball comes into fruition. Richard, we'll let you go and celebrate and commiserate with the team, of course, after a difficult race. Leandro Juncos, he was there or thereabouts, and then in second place with Dan Ginchard. Thank you very much, Richard. That is the second race of the weekend, round number 11, and we're going to grab a word before we close out with Caitlin McDaniel. Caitlin, come on in. Great to have you back again. Caitlin, that looked like a tricky out there on circuit. It's very hot this weekend.
Oh, yeah, it's been very difficult this entire weekend. I think never being here in the dry before and then trying to learn the track and learn everything. It's been quite a big mental barrier, I think, right now. But I mean, it's going okay. Wish for more, but keep pushing.
But for those of you that at home that maybe didn't catch one of the first rounds of the year, we caught up with yourself and Holly, your teammate. For you, this is very literally your first season of car racing, and actually your first is it first season of car racing?
First season of racing in general. I think I did about 6 months of rental karting and then took my own kart out a few times, and that was it. And then I had my first test day in December.
So a big step into this year, but I think every round, every race, almost every session, it looks like you're getting more and more comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. I had an injury before Silverstone and then carried that into Alton Park. I had a fractured foot, so I did both the race weekends with a fractured foot, and it's been quite difficult to recover from that and build my strength up, but it's getting back there. So
great to see that, and you're working well with the Fox Motorsport team and of course your teammate Holly Marl as well. We've got one more race coming up this weekend. What's your hopes for that one?
Just gained a few positions, honestly. I had not the best start, had to avoid some cars at the beginning, and it kind of cost me a few seconds, so hopefully avoid that a little bit better next time and be in the mix a bit more.
Yeah. And quick look at the rest of the season. You've made such progress all the way up till now. What's your hopes for the remainder of the year?
Just keep improving, honestly. I think wherever I'm at the end of the season is a good benchmark for whatever I do next year, so just try to build my confidence up and everything and get better, basically. Caitlin,
it sounds like a great plan. We'll let you go and cool off after what was a hot race number 2, round number 11. We're looking ahead now to race number 12. That's going to be coming up at about 4:20. Actually, reverse grid, top 12 from qualifying get reversed, so we're looking forward to a good race there. The race, third race of the weekend, always provides drama and action on circuit, very entertaining for yourself and an opportunity for the drivers to overtake and finish out the weekend strongly. So we'll hope you'll join us for then basically this afternoon, so about 4 o'clock is when we'll be live on the broadcast. We'll hopefully see you then.